Hello everybody, welcome to the interesting show.
I'm Janet.
I'm Irene.
What are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, like continue with the last episode. It's like I'm sharing about my new skill that I'm learning in space.
Yeah.
So what's your
recently new skills?
Yeah.
It's a bit silly though. Recently I've been watching like some shorts on Instagram or on TikTok. I think street photography kind of became some people has already done that for a long time, but I think TikTok, this kind of thing, really spreading it out.
You mean street photography?
Yeah.
So this is your new skill?
Yeah, this is like something I'm learning.
You're gonna be recently. A photographer.
I think I'm just like doing it for fun, then really want to be like a professional one. Yeah, I prefer like doing it more improvisingly though sometimes.
Just as an amateur?
Yeah, because I think sometimes that is the way that I release my energy. Well, last episode I told you like I'm a person that a bit difficult to focus on something. So just like if there's anything that I found interesting though, I will really going to do.
So you actually learn a lot of skills.
Yeah. But sometimes that I would just like kind of leave it behind.
Like base. It's okay.
Yeah.
What take you really get into this new skills? Like, okay, I am gonna start. Is it really that short film or something?
Yeah, I think one thing is just about that. Because I really want to, maybe some free time or when I got time, I really want to try to produce a low budget film someday. For a director, you really need to have like very basic knowledge about camera and lights. So I think that is one thing also. Why I started doing the photography again, because of the impact from the internet.
So you will have like a model for your photography, or you just randomly shooting on street people? I
still ask the people that I know like better, like my friends. Yeah. To come out and to be my model to shoot. And so that is the big overcome about this though, because I found myself as quite an introverted person.
You need to communicate with the model and how they do their gesture or pose.
Yeah.
You think it's hard?
Yeah, I think it's hard. Okay. So that is the reason why in the past I only take photos of no live things.
Do you think that you found some way to overcome this kind of scared? Or how do you do that? I don't know. What's your feeling at the first time when you ask people out to take a photo of them?
Well, the first time I ask people out to be my model, like that person is like who I quite familiar with. I think I have less nervous feeling about to ask her out to let me shoot. And I think that is quite okay though. And I just show her about the photo that I took about her. And she say, I think you got some interesting ideas though. Because I think most of the people, they do like portrait photography, like only focusing on people. Like it would be more neutral, or it would be more general style. It wouldn't have like too much strange things like on the image.
You do strange things?
Yeah, I prefer to doing like more experimental things. I think it's like mostly focusing on the position and how I want like the major person in the photo to interact with the things around that person. So like either the tree or the grass.
You mean do interact with tree or a grace?
I think it's like majorly focusing on what their position is. It can kind of like fulfill the imagination in my mind, like on the image. Yeah.
Sounds like very experimental.
Yeah, you can say that though. But I still took some normal people. I still
people.
I still took some normal photos. So.
Okay.
Yeah, because the second time, the person who asked me to take the photo for her is like from my friend, who was the first person who I asked out. That girl was her friend. Yeah.
You know, this is how the people say you started to one point, and then if you make something good, people will like introduce you to others, so you will have another joint, and once you have a lot of joints, you will just be a network.
Yeah, that's right. That's true though.
Yeah, I think it's quite good things.
Yeah, but I think I still need to overcome like the.
You still have some nervous when you like need to.
Yeah, to
communicate with.
Yeah, the people who I'm not that familiar with.
Oh, so if like there is a stranger that told you that, hey, I wanted to collaborate with you, and can you take a photo with me? Would you like accept that in this moment?
I think now my courage would probably push me to. I use push this word. Some people like who is like really interested in like any fields they like, they will be willingly to do things, right? But for me, I would need to push myself to do the things I like. Even I really like doing that kind of things, I still need to push myself to do. Well, earlier you asked me like what kind of way to communicate, like what kind of gesture or position that I want them to do. I think when I was doing it, it wasn't that different. Like in the past, I directed some film. It doesn't feel that much difference between these two kind of things. So one is still, but another one is like live action.
I think like for directing a video probably would be harder because like it's like you acting, and for a photo it's like it's not moving, but like for video you need to taking care of more detail, like they need to speech, they need to have a movements, their eyes contact. So I think there is more detail. Yeah. If you have the experience of directing, probably it would be easier for you to like transit to be a director on photograph. But I think probably it's different. If you are fear, you can tell yourself actually it's the same. But probably in practical is some different like technique or knowledge. Yeah.
That kind of thing is quite interesting to tell. Usually if you are making film, that is like you have more like crew? You have not really though, but the people that you shot is like more professional actors, so they could probably catch your direction better. But I think for the people that you took photo with, maybe just the people who is more close to you. I think when I was communicate with the model, I will give them like a background, like a story background. I will made up a story in my head that how I want this photo to look like, and then I will use like a story background to tell that person that you imagine yourself is like this, and what will you do if you are in this kind of character or personality.
So you prefer to set a character in a story, and they be in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I just tell my story, and then they let them just like to create their own.
So your every photo you have a story behind it.
Depends on the person though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think one thing that I found quite interesting, like to take the photography, is like you really need to talk a lot, because you need to know that person first, so that you can like, because you never met that person before.
You know what? I think there is like a very important skill for a photographer to have, is like you need to very good at small talk or talking like with other people. And I saw like, because you need to lease their tense, you need to let them to let
them on guard.
Yeah, you need to like treat you like you are their like old friend, so they can be nature and they can be themselves or something. I think it's a really important skill for a photographer. That's what I found out. Like so basically they probably will have a long conversation or just a short conversation to break the ice in the beginning. So yeah, I think it's probably what you're doing. And just like everyone, I don't think Lei Yuchen do that much. I think mostly he just like, okay, I think you are
good looking.
Yeah, or you have a cool style and I want to take a photo with you.
He has good equipment, I can tell.
First one is like good communication, then the second one is like a good equipment.
Yeah, but actually I was thinking about that kind of question. If your equipment is crappy though, can you still take photos?
What was crappy? do you think?
Like some people or some photographer more focusing on like how delicate and how beautiful the image in the photo that I want to reach. Like my goal is like to reach like the very perfect image and with like very high resolution to show that view or that person in my photo looks so perfect though. Then you probably need very good equipment, right?
I don't think that is that important recently. If you have like a smartphone, actually there is like so many smartphone can shoot like the old digital camera because they have like a portrait mode or something. And I think the most important thing right now is creativity. If you don't have the expensive equipment, I think if you just have an iPhone or something, I think probably use your creativity. You can still take some great photo. But you can just like, okay, you stand there and I take a photo. Probably you need to like figure out which angle or like you say how people interact with the tree or something
around the model.
Yeah. I think if you don't have any expensive equipment, creativity is a very important thing. So this is for our episode today. If you have any like story wanted to share with us, you can leave a comment below or you can DM our Instagram. See you guys next time.
Bye.